Have you ever been invited to a hangout where everyone already knows each other and somehow felt more alone than if you just stayed home? Like they're all laughing at jokes you don't get, finishing each other's sentences, and you're just standing by the snack table pretending to check your phone? Here's what nobody tells you. It's not because you're awkward. Nobody ever taught you how to do this. There are 4 mistakes you're making every single time you walk into an established friend group, but the last one, the one that actually flipped everything for me, is something you're probably doing right now without realizing it. I'm saving it for the very end. Let me start with something that changed everything for me. I used to walk into group hangouts and immediately try to be the most interesting person in the room. A friend's birthday dinner where everyone went to college together. A backyard barbecue where they'd all been hanging out for years. And I'd show up and just go all in. Jumping into conversations I had no context for, laughing louder than anyone else at jokes I barely understood, dropping some crazy weekend story nobody asked to hear. I'd be leaning in too hard, eyes darting around the table looking for approval, talking with my hands like I was performing a one-man show. I thought that's what you had to do. In America, we're taught that outgoing wins, that the loud, funny, confident person is the one everyone wants around, so I cranked it up to 10 every single time. And you know what happened? People didn't lean in. They pulled back. Conversations got shorter. Eye contact got less frequent. Someone would politely smile and then turn back to the person they actually knew. Because desperation has a frequency, and everyone in that room can feel it. You think you're being fun and engaging. However, what you're actually broadcasting is, please like me, please include me, please tell me I belong here. That energy doesn't attract, it repels. Here's what I learned to do instead. I call it the observer entry. Instead of walking in and trying to own the room, I started doing the opposite. I'd sit down, smile, and just listen. For the first 10 or 15 minutes, I wouldn't try to be anything. I'd pay attention to how the group worked. Who's the storyteller? Who's the one cracking jokes? Who's quieter but everyone still respects? I'd watch the rhythm of their conversations instead of trying to hijack it. Then, when someone mentioned something I didn't know, an inside joke, a shared memory, instead of pretending I understood, I'd just nod naturally and keep listening. No performance, no forcing my way in, just being present. And something strange happened. By not trying to take up space, people started making space for me. Someone would turn and explain the joke. Another person would ask what I thought. The invitation came to me because I stopped trying to grab it. The difference was night and day. The old me would leave those hangouts exhausted, replaying every awkward moment. The new me would leave feeling like I actually connected with people, not because I performed better, because I stopped performing altogether. But not talking too much is just the start. There's something worse you're doing, and it's completely silent. Now here's the opposite mistake. And honestly, this one's worse because you don't even realize you're doing it. I used to think I was playing it cool. Leaning against the kitchen counter at a house party, scrolling through my phone, arms crossed, looking like I was totally fine being by myself, like I didn't need anyone. In America, we love that energy, right? The unbothered look, the person who doesn't try too hard. I told myself I was being chill, being low-key. But here's the truth, I wasn't chill. I cared so much it was eating me alive. I wanted someone to come over. I wanted someone to pull me into the conversation happening 10 feet away. I just didn't know what to do with my hands, my face, my entire body. So I hid behind my phone like a shield. And here's why that's so dangerous. When you feel like an outsider in a group, your brain actually shifts into threat mode. You become hyper-vigilant. Everything feels like a potential rejection. You feel exposed and vulnerable. And the twisted part is that the very thing you want most, connection, becomes the thing you run from. Your brain is screaming, protect yourself, so you cross your arms, you hunch your shoulders, you bury your face in your screen. You think you're protecting yourself. However, what you're actually doing is putting up a giant neon sign that says, don't talk to me, I'm not available, leave me alone. You thought hiding made you safe. It actually made you invisible. Here's what to do instead. I call it the open stance. Put the phone away, not in your hand, not face up on the table, in your pocket, gone. Let your arms hang naturally at your sides or rest one hand on the counter. Pull your shoulders back just slightly, not stiff, just open. Keep your eyes at room level, not staring at the floor. Let your face relax into a slight, natural expression, not a big grin, just content. Then comes the real move, proximity positioning. You don't have to join the conversation right away. Just stand close enough to the group that you can hear what they're talking about. Face your body toward them. Nod when something's funny. React naturally. You're not inserting yourself, you're just existing nearby with open, relaxed energy. It felt weird at first, like I was faking it, like everyone could see me trying. But within 5 minutes at a friend's rooftop get-together, someone in the circle turned to me and said, "Wait, what do you think?" That had never happened when I was buried in my phone. The difference wasn't what I said, it was what my body stopped saying. If any of this is hitting home, do me a favor, hit that like button. It helps more people find this. But here's where it gets really interesting. This one used to destroy me. I remember sitting at a dinner table with a group of people, friends of a friend, and someone brought up something called the Thanksgiving disaster. The whole table erupted. People were laughing so hard they were wiping their eyes. Someone kept saying, "And then Kyle showed up with the turkey," and that made it even worse. Everyone was losing it, and I just sat there, smiling, nodding, letting out a little laugh like I was in on it. I wasn't in on it. I had no idea what happened with Kyle or the turkey or why it was the funniest thing that had ever occurred. But I laughed anyway, because I thought that's what you're supposed to do. You fake it, you blend in, you pretend you belong until it becomes real. Here's what that fake laugh actually did. It built a wall. Every time I pretended to understand a reference I didn't get, I pushed myself further away from the group, not closer, because now I couldn't ask about it. Now I was committed to the lie, and that lie created distance I couldn't close. That sting you feel when everyone laughs and you're on the outside, that's not you being too sensitive. That's your brain sending you a signal that a connection is weakening and it needs to be repaired. It's an ancient signal. It evolved to push you toward people, not away from them. The problem isn't the sting. The problem is what you do with it. Most people either fake their way through it or shut down entirely. Both are the wrong response. Here's what I didn't realize for years. Being the outsider isn't a weakness. It's actually a superpower if you use it right. I call this the curious outsider. Instead of pretending you know, you lean into not knowing. The next time someone mentions their road trip disaster, or that time at Josh's wedding, or some college story you weren't part of, try this. Look at them and say, "Okay, wait, I need to hear this story." Not, "Can you tell me what happened?" Not some polite little request. I need to hear this. Say it with energy. Say it like you genuinely can't believe you've been missing out. Here's why this works. People love retelling their favorite memories. They love having a fresh audience. When you ask with real curiosity, you're not reminding them you're an outsider. You're giving them a reason to relive the best parts of their friendship, with you right there in the middle of it. I tried this at a group brunch. Someone mentioned a camping trip, and everyone groaned and laughed. The old me would have smiled politely and stared at my eggs. Instead, I said, "Hold on, what happened on this camping trip?" The entire group turned toward me, not with pity, with excitement. They spent 10 minutes telling me the story, each person adding their version, arguing over details, pulling me in as the judge of who was right. Suddenly, I wasn't the outsider anymore. I was the audience, and people love performing for an audience that's genuinely interested. The fake laugh was a wall. The genuine question was a bridge. Now, those 3 things will get you in the door, but staying, becoming someone they actually want around long term, that requires something completely different, and it's the thing I promised you at the very beginning. Remember what I said at the beginning? The one thing you're probably doing wrong right now. This is it, and it's not a technique. It's not about your body language or what questions you ask or how long you wait before speaking. It's bigger than all of that. For years, every single time I walked into a room with an established friend group, a coworker's birthday, a friend of a friend's 4th of July party, a group chat hangout where everyone had known each other since college, I had one thought running on repeat in my head. Do they like me? Do they like me? do they like me? And that one thought poisoned everything. It made me agree with opinions I didn't actually have. Someone would say something about politics or a movie or where to eat, and I'd nod and say totally, even when I disagreed. It made me laugh at jokes I didn't find funny. It made me mirror everyone's body language so aggressively that I stopped moving like myself. I'd catch myself copying how someone was sitting, how they held their drink, how they leaned back when they laughed. I wasn't a person anymore. I was a character, a performance designed to win approval from people I just met. And here's the strangest part. It never worked. Leave those hangouts feeling emptier than when I arrived, replaying every moment, wondering what I did wrong. Then something clicked. The moment I stopped trying to get them to accept me was the moment they actually did. Here's what happened. I got invited to a group dinner, friends of a friend. Everyone had history together. Normally, I'd walk in already calculating how to be funny enough, agreeable enough, likable enough. But that night, I was exhausted. I didn't have the energy to perform, so I just showed up as myself. I disagreed when I disagreed. I stayed quiet when I had nothing to say. I didn't force a single laugh. At one point, someone made a suggestion I thought was a bad idea, and instead of nodding along, I just said, "I don't know, I think I'd do it differently." And I braced for the rejection. It didn't come. Instead, someone leaned in and said, "Wait, how would you do it?" And suddenly I was part of a real conversation, not a performance, a conversation. Here's why this works. When you stop chasing approval, something shifts inside you. Your shoulders drop, your breathing slows down, your voice comes back to its natural tone. Remember how I talked about your brain going into threat mode when you feel isolated? When you release the need for approval, you switch that off. Your brain stops scanning for danger because you're no longer treating every interaction as a test you might fail. You relax. And when you relax, people around you relax too. They feel safe with you. They feel like they're getting the real version of you, not some carefully edited highlight reel. So here's the mindset shift. Stop walking into groups asking yourself, how do I fit in? Start asking, is this group actually right for me? Flip it. You're not auditioning, you're evaluating. Give yourself permission to have a different opinion. Give yourself permission to be quiet when you have nothing to add. Give yourself permission to leave early if the vibe doesn't feel right. In America, we're conditioned from high school to believe that being liked is everything, that social approval is the scoreboard of your worth. But the people who are actually magnetic, the ones everyone gravitates toward, they've stopped playing that game entirely. They don't need the group to validate them. They walk in already okay with who they are. And that's the paradox. People can feel when you don't need them, and weirdly, that's when they want you around the most. When you stop performing for approval, people actually want to give it to you. Not because you earned it, because you stopped asking for it. So here's what I want you to take away from all of this. The invitation was never the problem. You got invited. You showed up. That part was never the issue. The issue was what happened inside your head the moment you walked through the door. The trying, the performing, the hiding, the pretending, the silent, exhausting question of whether you were enough. You were always enough. The next time you walk into a room full of people who already know each other, a party, a dinner, a weekend trip with someone else's friends, I want you to try something. Walk in with your shoulders relaxed. Leave your phone in your pocket. Don't try to be the funniest or the loudest or the most agreeable person there. Just be present, be curious, be honest, and ask yourself not how do I make them like me, but do I even like them? Because you were never really trying to join a group. You were trying to find your people. And your people, they don't need you to perform. They don't need a character. They just need you to show up.